Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ben's Friends Podcast. Today on the podcast, we have artist Jeff Spellman. Jeff Spellman's a really good friend of mine. We get a chance to sit down, talk about how he's evolved as an artist throughout his life. We also spent some time talking about some real world issues, some hot topics in the world today. It's an interesting conversation. Hope you guys enjoy.
Show starting. Show starting. Shh. Show starting. Shut up. The show's starting. Shut up. It's Ben's Friends Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're live. Jeff Spellman, finally got you on the show. Artist Jeff Spellman, how you doing?
Yes, sir.
Man? How are you?
I'm good, brother. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. What's life like on a Thursday night in Boston right now?
Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. During these times, not much. I mean,
Yeah.
just hanging out with friends occasionally. Still trying to play some ball here and there outside. Trying to enjoy the nice weather that we have right now before it turns into winter for 18 years in Boston. But
Yeah, dude,
not really.
I was talking to my sister because my sister lives there, and she texted me the other day and said they're filming a big movie there, like right now.
Oh my God, that's so funny that you said that because my mother sent me a DM on his. My mother would just send me the most random inspirational stuff or whatever, and then she sent one maybe 2 days ago that was about a movie, and she was like, it was like a casting call. It was like they need extras all this stuff.
But my sister
and she's like, you're doing it. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not doing it. She's like, no, I'm putting my foot down. You're doing it. I'm like, what do you mean you're putting your foot down? Am I an actor? I guess I did. I was.
Are you doing it?
No, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do it. Well, first of all, can I
cool.
swear?
Yeah, say one too.
Oh, okay. No, I'm not fucking doing that. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I should. She's like, who knows? This might be your big break.
As if you've been pursuing this for so long.
Well, I actually was when I was about to enter college, I had no idea what I wanted to major in.
Yeah. I remember.
And I considered doing theater or drama because I did that in high school from 9th grade on, and I really enjoyed it. But I don't know. I don't think the theater scene was really my kind of
the theater scene.
Nothing against it.
I wish there was an alternative. Theater and acting, I feel to me are two totally different things.
Yeah, I mean, this may sound like a totally ignorant thing to say. Well, first of all, we're both athletes, and
yeah, we have no idea what we're talking about.
I was more of a basketball player growing up, so the whole theater world was kind of a shock to me. Yeah.
No, but I mean, so my sister texted me because my girlfriend's obsessed with Timothée Chalamet. Okay. So my sister texted me and goes, "Hey, tell Claire that they're filming, or Timothée Chalamet has a huge movie here in Boston, and they're looking for extras." And I was like, "Oh my God!"
Funny.
Yeah,
I know. My mother thinks I'm going to go there, and I'm automatically an extra. I'm like,
just in there. This might be your big break.
This might be my big break to be an extra in a movie. She's like, "This is my dream." I was like, "Okay,
that's hilarious.
Go do it."
They film so many movies there.
Boston has a ton of movies. I feel like people have so many everyone kind of has an opinion of Boston because of like cinema, and that's true with a lot of things. But
they have what
like Boston,
about Boston
in particular? Everyone has preconceived notions and ideas about what Boston is like in terms of culture through their lens that they view in movies and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, but to an extent, it's pretty accurate. From at least from an outsider, coming there, and I'm like, oh, they do sound like that, and it does get really cold, and the city is really cool, But yeah, man.
So sometimes, but a lot of Boston movies just piss me off, just because everyone.
It's too much. Is it forced?
Oh, I don't know. People are obsessed with the town. I think the town's so corny and forced and
the town.
I don't know.
Not from being from Boston, I think the town is so sick, dude. I love that movie.
Yeah, people really like that. I'm trying to think of what I'd consider my favorite Boston movie. I mean, it's definitely Good Will Hunting. But
oh, dude, of course. Yeah. Forgot about that.
Maybe The Departed, but I think that's kind of overrated, actually.
Even just random movies like Ted. Was that what it's called? Ted with the bear?
Yeah.
Dude, what? That's they're in Fenway Park, it's so Boston. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
But no, man, Boston's a Boston's a cool city, and I'm
Yeah, I love
so
it.
glad I got to spend, even though we weren't directly in the center of Boston, like
Yeah,
those nights that when we were prep school together, those nights I'd go to your house on the weekends, like
yeah.
getting to see the city at least a little bit was so cool.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Boston's great. I mean, I think I'll always probably live in Boston. Like it's definitely where I'd want to raise a family.
yeah, it's expensive though.
Oh my
At least,
God, yeah, some of the most expensive like real estate in the country to live like in
yeah,
like actual downtown Boston. It's
yeah.
crazy.
My sister lives in where does she live? Right down by
BU?
BU. Yeah, what is that area called? Alston? No?
Yeah,
Alston. I think that's where they live. And
Austin, Brighton. Yeah,
it's really expensive and they have a tiny little apartment, but like
yeah, it's kind of
they
like New
pay a
York in that
ton.
sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely like New York.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I just prefer. Obviously, I have a huge bias being from Boston, but in terms of like the Boston New York debate, like I much prefer Boston. It's so much more like
it's like
feels
more
like cleaner,
realistic.
smaller New York to me.
Yeah, and that's how I describe it to a lot of people. I'm like, it's just like the less insane version and more livable version
Yeah.
than New York.
Yeah, when people talk about like, oh, like what, like wanting to like live in New York, or it's like there's like, oh, there's so much going on. It's like, well, what? How much can you fuck? How many places can you really be in like
Yeah,
one
how much
fucking
can you
second? Like,
do?
I know there's 8 million places, like places in New York, like the million clubs and
Of
bars. Like,
course.
okay, well, you can only be in one place. There's only like so many hours you can go out and do something. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd rather be in
No.
like a less crowded fucking place.
Yeah, and like I don't know, except for what is it? They say the traffic is worse because it's like not the traffic, but
In
the
Boston?
roads. Yeah, just the roads because like they don't have like the same grid system that New York City has.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't spent much time I mean, yeah, the times that I've been in New York City and like I haven't been personally driving. I don't think I could even do that. I see other people do it, like
Right.
Austin or something like that. Like New York streets feel like intimidating in terms of like being able to
Yeah,
drive
that's
through them.
true. You can at least
I can't.
like your car actually moves when you're in
Yeah.
Boston.
No, but there's really bad traffic here too. But not since quarantine, really. All that since
Really.
Corona,
So it's
everything's
just
kind of died down.
yeah. So what's up with that? Is everyone strictly where I know we talked about this the other day, but I don't really remember what we said. Is everyone strictly on the mask still, or like what's going on with that?
Well, in Boston, yeah, I would say that it's well, Boston was like it was a bad hotspot for a while.
Yeah.
So it was like really locked down and people took it honestly very seriously.
Yeah.
So now I think
Yeah.
we're in like a pretty good spot in terms of like cases, even though now it's such a big college town that
Yeah. It's gonna be tough,
obviously
man.
cases were gonna spike. I think
Yeah.
people are getting pretty antsy and like the younger kids still trying to like my like our age kids just like trying to like go out and do stuff. But
Yeah.
um if you go
Tough.
out to like the city, everyone's wearing a mask.
Right.
Um and but I think partly that's just like all that's become so politicized that
Oh,
you know
100%.
Boston's such a liberal place. Like
Right.
it's
Right.
kind of like if you're not wearing a mask out in Boston, like someone's gonna yell at you not because you're wearing a mask, but because you're like a supporter of Trump.
Yeah, see that's the thing like where I'm at with masks right now is like I went through a big phase where I was like, all right, we're all wearing our masks, like let's be really strict on this thing. Then I went through a big phase where I was like, screw the virus, I'm not going to let it dictate what
Yeah,
I do. And
yeah,
now I'm almost back to like let's just all wear the masks and get this thing over with. Like as bad as I don't want to do it, I'm going to swallow my pride, put the mask on and hope
yeah.
we can end this thing as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that big of a issue for me, first of all, because like
Right.
my whole life has constantly been like quarantined. Like I don't like, I'm just not like a huge like social butterfly. Like I don't love going out to like bars and
Yeah,
crowds
yeah.
and concerts and all that. Like so my life like really hasn't changed. So like when I go out to the store, it's like okay, I'll put a mask on. Like I don't really care.
Right.
But I will say I am following like guidelines and stuff. Like for the past few months, I haven't been around more than like 10 people. Like I kind of just have my close group of friends and I don't
Yeah.
know, like if we hang out, like we try to like hang outside and like just I don't know, but
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at before I came to Europe. I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna try to live my normal life, but I'm also gonna try to be cautious at the same time, if that makes sense.
how'd
Like,
that work out?
I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, so you had mentioned like like you're not a social butterfly and all that. And
Yeah,
do you think so? And you also labeled yourself as an artist the other day,
yeah,
which to me was kind of like different because I look at you
hmm
in a different way as an athlete,
yeah, of
this and
course,
that. But
yeah.
so at what point were you like? So first of all, what kind of art do you do? I mean, that's
Well, I'd say traditionally in my life, I've worked with like digital mediums. I've worked with photography and videography.
mhm.
Um, and I was a studio art major in college. Um, and really all I did was photography and videography and film and installation art. Um, but yeah, I have made a switch now, and I've been for the past really since quarantine focusing on painting. Um,
Wow.
and I don't know, and it really you said that it was surprising to you, and that's funny because that's like usually most people's reaction because most people label me and know me as a basketball player because that's kind of like what I put out there into the world. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily show the other side of myself, even though it's been there really my entire life. The art side has been there side by side with basketball, um, kind of just in the background. I wasn't really ever putting it out on display. It's always manifested itself differently in different stages of my life. Like when I was growing up, the first thing I remember doing artistically is, music. I was always in music camps.
Yeah.
I did like many years of formal training in saxophone, um, and that kind of led me up into like middle school, high school age. And then once I
So when
started,
was the first like it clicked and it was like, okay, I kind of like this stuff. Like I'm not just a basketball player because we start playing sports at such
yeah,
a young age. Like,
I don't know. It's really interesting, and it's something that I've thought about like a lot. Is that basketball almost never felt like enough.
right,
Like I just always kind of had the desire, maybe, and I don't know where that stems from. Like maybe it's I don't want to be like labeled as like strictly an athlete, or
right.
it's hard to tell the bound. Like it's hard to tell like what you like the idea of and like what
Well,
you genuinely like.
I mean, it could come from like the ball does stop bouncing for everybody.
Yeah.
And like there is more life than basketball or whatever sport you
Mhm.
play. And that's such a hard realization to come to. And it's like
Yeah.
maybe you were just kind of born with that sense, like the sense
Yeah.
of there's more to life than this game when a lot of us
Yeah.
didn't have that.
I think that I've just like what I'd also say is that I've always kind of just had this strong uh urge to sort of create and whether that and just that can be in like many different forms. Um but it has always been there for some reason or another, and I think it's kind of like a blessing and a curse because
Right.
like it drives me nuts sometimes
Mm-hmm.
like I just need to be doing so. I need to be like whether it be making photographs or like just making some sort of small video around the house. Like I just always have had that need and desire, and like I'm almost just not satisfied until I do that. And I don't
Right.
know where the fuck that comes from, but it's
I
definitely just
mean,
been there.
no, it's super cool. I remember, so we met in 2000, what, fall 2014.
Yes.
So like, and we became pretty close pretty quickly. And I knew I would just say you're a weirdo, because you were you had more of a life than basketball, and none of us did
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, man, this guy's a weirdo. He cares more about other things than basketball. But I never would have thought, I wouldn't have gone with like art. I didn't know what it was. I
Yeah.
knew like you were into music and stuff. And at that point,
Yeah.
what were you like? You've gone through different stages and stuff.
Yeah.
Like you're going through painting now. You did
Yeah.
digital media.
Mm-hmm.
Like at that point in our lives, what were you into? Because I don't really remember
That's a
anything.
good question. Honestly, I'm not sure. When I think back to like times in my life that I've struggled and kind of making
Yeah.
this connection now, there has been a lack of during that period. There's been a lack of kind of artistic expression,
Right.
and that's a period when I would say I was severely lacking artistic expression. I mean, actually, during that year, one of our friends from school, I like got like a digital audio workstation like Logic Pro.
Mm-hmm.
I got it like he let me like downloaded it, and I think kind of like maybe not right at the beginning, obviously, but kind of months into our
So wait,
time at prep school.
was this at prep school? One of the students
Yeah,
from
yeah,
prep
it was
school?
at prep school. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and yeah, so I started messing around with that, and that's kind of like I've always had a big love for music, and I obviously had some like music theory training and all that, and
Yeah.
I would say that I was pretty heavily into music. You don't remember that? I was there like making like the
I
EDM kind of music on
Yeah,
the
no.
computer.
I remember like a phase of it, and
Yeah,
it didn't strike me like, oh, he's actually serious into this. It
yeah,
was more so like, oh, he's just being a weirdo. Like he's
yeah.
just trying to be weird or something. I
But
don't
yeah,
know.
but no, I didn't really. To answer your question, I don't think there really was much artistic kind of expression or creativity going on then.
Yeah, and
Um,
I mean that makes sense. I mean, so here's a question: since like you've been a little kid, like basketball has been the other half of you. So it's
yeah,
like the periods when you've gone without playing basketball, have you felt
yeah.
that same like um I don't know, I wouldn't say like anxiety, but like just like that something's missing, like that.
Yeah, of course, for sure. But honestly, there hasn't been much of that. There's
Right.
been like right now. Like
Right.
right now is kind of the first time I mean, I was in the gym last night for like an hour and a half doing a basketball
Right.
workout.
Right.
And it's kind of like, what am I doing? You know, but it's just, I guess it's just another way of cardio for me at this point. But no, I know what you're saying. I mean, I can recall a time maybe I got hurt somewhere between I think my sophomore and junior year in high school, where I had like a pretty significant
Your back,
injury in my
was
lower
it?
back.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
man.
had like a stress fracture in my back,
It's crazy.
kind of just from overuse. And it kind of struck me right then. I remember, like, I can remember vividly like the doctor coming into like my room and explaining that I had this injury and that I'd be out like an extended period of time. And it's something that may not even heal. And like I really like broke down hearing that.
Really?
And I think in that time between I don't remember, but I know it led me right up into basketball season. So it was like end of summer, um, or like halfway through the summer. I don't know, maybe like July. And in those months, I started kind of realizing that there's maybe more to me, or like if the fact that they can just be taken away from me like that,
Yeah.
like I'm simply not just a basketball player. Because all of a sudden I went from it's all I did,
Right.
I was literally flying to different states every weekend to
Yeah.
play and be in these tournaments and whatnot, to just like not being able to play. And I can remember trying to get back to a swing of basketball, and I was like, oh, this is a little like it started to feel almost like a little more like a job than just fun at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a sad point that we kind of all get to at some point.
Yeah.
And it's your whole perspective
Yeah.
on the sport kind of gets a little foggy.
Well,
And it's
well,
like,
it's been interesting because now that I just finished up my senior year, and barring me going playing professionally at some point, basketball is in terms of like a legitimacy level over for me. And you know I I didn't play for months. Obviously I couldn't really play during quarantine. There was nothing like that. And then I found myself at a park just like playing basketball and like shooting around, and I had this like urge and this nagging feeling in the back of my head that's like, why aren't you working out? You're just like fucking around. Like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah.
pull out a cone, start doing like drills. And I'm like, and I was just like, wait, I don't even need to do that. And like
Right.
that, and like when I put that aside, it was like I got hit with like a wave of like, wow, this is really, I'm just doing this just because it's fun. Like, and it's just
Right.
because I love it. And it was like such a like, it was like a feeling I hadn't felt for a
Probably
while with
refreshing,
basketball.
man.
Oh my God, it was
Refreshing.
awesome. Almost like I wanted to cry. It was, I mean, it sounds
Yeah.
ridiculous, but it was
No, no,
just
no,
like,
no. I totally
it's like,
get
oh,
you.
it's like I can just shoot around and then fucking leave. I could leave right now. Like, it's just like before I used to feel like the pressure to,
There's an
even
obligation.
though I loved it, it was like, I better be in the gym fucking hour and a half every
Yeah.
day. I better be doing this. Like, crazy.
Absolutely. It's that constant guilt if you're not
Mm-hmm.
working on something. Just that it's always in the back of your mind, like, hey, you probably should be doing this right now. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, man,
exactly.
like it's like when am I gonna have that freedom, And that's something I've tried as now I'm into my second year playing professionally. It's like I could end this thing any day now and everyone would say, great
Yeah.
job.
Yeah,
Like you
exactly.
give it everything, like, you went
Yeah.
farther than most people, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to, that, man, it's tough. That
Yeah,
freedom is
I wanted to ask you more kind of like about, I mean, obviously now, what is this, your second year playing professionally?
yeah,
And like, I know we spoke about it a little bit in the past, but not at length.
right.
Where do you ideally see yourself with your professional playing career? Like, how long do you have a certain time you want to play? Are you just like playing it by ear? Like, what's the
So
deal with that?
I was super excited to get done with college basketball and start this pro career.
And why is that?
And I felt like at Florida Southern I wasn't really totally using my ability, and I almost felt like just a fresh start. I was like, I think the pro game will fit my style more. I'm like, I think I'm just kind of ready for that clean slate, and
well, let me jump in here. What would you say, like, what period was basketball most fun for you?
That's a tough one, man. Of course, when you're a little kid and nothing
Yeah.
matters.
Well, don't say that. Yeah. Say something like starting on from like high school, college, pros.
Senior year was a blast, man. Senior year of high school. High school. Because just like being dominant for the first time and your team's doing well, you're finally like the big kid in the school,
Yeah.
It was
So
cool.
you wouldn't say college, you'd say more high school.
College wasn't every single year. I mean, I had fun. We won a championship. It was a blast, but that totally like excited feeling about the game.
Yeah.
But then it came back to me when I was in Ireland. And I was just playing freely. I was using my abilities that I have and not worrying about anything. I was like, oh, if it doesn't work out, I already signed pro and I'll call it a day. So I was just kind of with nothing to lose, dude. And that's when I was like, man, this is fun again. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but dude, there's those days where, depends on the day sometimes. I'm like, man, maybe this might be it. This might be my last season. And I'm going to go home and say, I played for 2 years. That's it. And then other days, man, I'm like, I want to go for 5 more years. I want to do this. I want to fully commit and go to to my full
as far as you can with it. Yeah.
But
it's interesting that you say that high school was the most fun, and because I'd say probably college was my most fun.
Yeah, and I'm jealous of that. I'm like, dang, like, I'm kind of pissed. My 4, I didn't use those 4 years the way I should have. And you going to Bates, I think that was like such a great thing to happen for your love of the game to go and I don't know, man. But so first of all, I wanted to ask you about Bates. Like, what's the acceptance rate to Bates? Isn't it ridiculously low or something?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I know that it's Bates is part of like the NESCAC division, and that grouping of schools, they're very difficult to get into. Not saying that I'm a fucking super smart guy.
But dude, that's a tough school to get into. Like,
so I mean, I was definitely very fortunate. I know it took me a fucking while to figure out where I was gonna end up. And I kind of have this like crazy, maybe notorious kind of story of how I ended up where I ended up. And I hear a lot of people kind of talk about it in like New England. I hear it from like other people, people are talking about me and like they won't speak on it in a negative way. Right. When it's just, it couldn't be, it's fucking positive. Like the fact that people don't use their like basketball skill, the fact that they don't leverage that into getting into a better academic school makes absolutely zero fucking sense to me, because it's something that you hear in like recruiting to like, oh, use this to get into a school you couldn't without basketball. And it's almost like a cliche, but like no one fucking even, I feel like people don't really do it, which that makes no sense to me.
People don't value education, dude. Like, and to be honest, I didn't. Yeah. I was like, I'm just going to play basketball. Like real life wasn't going through my mind in my college decision at all. I was like, wherever I can go get a scholarship, I'm playing. Yeah.
So like and I totally get that, because that's what I felt for most of my time in high school. And that's kind of how I ended up where I ended up. Like, like any school that offered me, it was never even like, it was immediately like, okay, what's next? Like, it wasn't like, I never even took the time to enjoy it. Like I was just.
And what people listening to this may not even understand that, like, you had some buzz around your name, dude. Seriously. Like, even to look back at your old highlight tapes and stuff, dude, you know what I was thinking the other day? I was like, man, Spell he was in the wrong, he's a few years too early.
Yeah.
You were around during these Instagram and
that's
TikTok days, dude, man. You would have been huge. You would have been huge.
It's so stupid because that for sure would have just like
Yeah.
I would have just gotten like a high major offer just strictly off the like social media.
You would have had that blue check next to your name.
Yeah.
One of those kids you're on TikTok.
I remember it's funny because like Facebook was big when I first started out, and I had like my first Facebook. I had like that, like anyone who like would know your name, recognize your name for basketball would just search you on Facebook and add you. And I had like mad thousands of friends on Facebook.
Dude.
And then I had to delete the Facebook like years later because I'm like, I literally know none of these people, and I was just accepting them just to like because I thought it was cool that they knew me.
Dude, yeah, you were low key a little celebrity there up there. I remember when and you know what? You weren't that young. You were like in high school because I got to prep school, or when I went up there for the first time, people were talking about, yeah, we're supposed to have Jeff Spellman. We're supposed to have Jeff. And I was like, dude, who is this guy? I'm expecting like some ridiculously good basketball player. I'm like, and I'm thinking the typical like 6'7", like big athletic. They're like, yo, Jeff has bounce. So I'm like, man, this guy's gonna be some big, strong like athlete. And then I'm like, and to find out it was you, man, I was just like, wait, this is the guy you guys are all freaking out about? Like, pretty normal guy.
Yeah.
Except, I mean, definitely a psycho, but but just in a different way.
Yeah, man, that was kind of a crazy time. Like, as soon as I like entered high school, it was just like a lot of, the basketball recruiting world is so weird. And like kids who weren't even into basketball, at least where I was from, were like following like the recruiting pages, and like kids in my high school who like literally weren't even athletes are like coming up and talking to me like, oh, do you see what you're like? It's just like, it's so fucking toxic, honestly. It's just, and that sounds like such a pussy thing to say.
No, for sure. I mean,
it's definitely not good. I don't think
it's not good at all. And it's crazy to see these kids on Instagram and Twitter who are like 14. I have no idea who they are, and they're just all over my Instagram, and they're they're celebrities now. And I'm like, what is going on?
I know we've like touched on this before, but it's like, if like Instagram isn't around or like social media isn't around, like I see no way that LaMelo Ball is like a lottery pick right now.
No, absolutely.
It's like this social media age of basketball has kind of like
social media pushes a lot of things to happen, and they actually happen, which is crazy.
For sure.
A fight being set, an event being set up for a boxing match or a trade in sports. It's like, oh, the fans think they should do so-and-so. And then it happens, and you're like, it's crazy. Make that happen?
Yeah.
That's why I'm always I'm like, let's get JJ Watt to Buffalo. Maybe if we all, maybe if we all get that going around. My cousin Mikey does that too. He'll start tweeting it. He tweeted. Yeah,
just trying to get some buzz. Apparently, it's really not hard to get something trending on Twitter. It only takes very little tweets for something to get trending on Twitter.
Really? That's funny. My cousin, when Kawhi Leonard was a free agent, he tweeted and was like, sources tell me Kawhi Leonard's taking a meeting without. He's like, if we can get that going, maybe he'll take a meeting. And I'm like, dude, I believe it. Nowadays, it's ridiculous. I'm ready for social media to be like restricted, or I mean, I don't want to say that. I don't want to be China, but like
I live in China.
Exactly. But like to be limited to some extent, like it runs our world now, dude.
Oh my God.
It's insane. And I find myself freaking
the fighting that goes on.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's
on
so
Twitter
horrible.
And everything just
horrible.
Because and like this point kind of gets made a lot, but it's very true. You see so much fighting on, say, Twitter, for example, but how often do you go out on the street and see two people fucking screaming at each other? It's just because it's easy to do that shit on behind a computer, and it's like everyone's like, I feel like a much more genuine, nice person in real life, and there's much less real life turbulence than there is on fucking social media.
Of course, and that's what I mean. It's just the issue. It but then you know what? Then
it makes the world seem bad, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and
it makes it seem almost a little worse than it actually is sometimes.
I 100% get what you're saying there, and it's just like but then it's like you start to believe it because it's trending so much, just like the whole sports thing, like I start to believe, like maybe that guy's a jerk. Like, I don't know, just because it's terrible, man. I'm like, I'm just so ready for it to be like, I
don't think
even
it's going
know.
anywhere.
I'm not, like I said this the other night on the other podcast. I was like, I don't want my kids to have social media at all. Like,
yeah, I mean, good luck with that. It's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough, but I'm hoping by then. I mean, did you see the thing on Netflix, the social
dilemma? No, I didn't watch it.
Dude, well, if you get like an hour and a half, it'll pretty much solidify all these thoughts that we're having about how bad it is. It's the creators, and they're just like, man, we created a monster, and now this one dude's like, I feel obligated to stop it. Like, I'm gonna try to do everything I can. I'm like, I hope that guy's right, man. I hope he comes through, because the world's getting weird with this social media stuff.
Just like I said before, like everything, at least on I don't know. I mean, obviously everyone's social media looks different.
Right.
But what I see mostly on Instagram is just a lot of political issues, which is good. I get the whole purpose of bringing awareness to situations. The thing that drives me nuts is like I see all these kids from our school, like these quote unquote like highly educated people, and they're just shoving it down everyone's fucking throat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like it's just like who can be more woke, who can be more like politically active. It's like,
that's exactly
you're reposting a fucking story,
right?
And like, how many stories I just see telling me to go vote? Okay, I understand that I can go vote. You don't have to tell me to go fucking vote. Like, it's almost like there's like a sort of like arrogance, and like people seem like a bit pretentious. Like, I stay away from that shit. It's like,
I mean,
it's just like these social media like heroes, these social media social justice like it's really grown frustrating for me.
That's what I mean. Like these places like Instagram and Twitter, where I used to go for just to have fun. It was fun. It was funny videos or funny tweets or ideas, and like you said, like it's great people are posting stuff. Like that's what America's about.
I understand the importance of it, and I understand that it's just, I think it just goes a bit far sometimes.
It definitely goes a bit far. And so what are your views on like, because a lot of people, for me, I'm a huge NBA fan, that. So like, I was going to watch the games no matter what. I didn't care what they did for the national anthem. I didn't care what they had written on the court. I wanted to watch basketball. And so, but a lot of people didn't watch the sports because of like, the writing on the floor and the Black Lives Matter stuff. And I'm like, that's crazy. But I actually understood when some people were like, I just want to watch basketball and not think about politics. I was like, I get that. I guess I understand that, but that had no effect on me.
First of all, it's very tricky to talk about, especially us two white guys talking about it.
That's what I mean.
It's just that, of course I understand that, and I would never fucking criticize that.
Right.
I guess like I'm trying to like formulate my thoughts here on that. Like I agree with what they're doing. Whatever the players want to do is fine with me. But the NBA can't act holier than thou when they still fucking won't say anything about China, because
that's exactly what I'm saying, dollar. Man. That's exactly. So
it's like it's like you want to be, the NBA wants to be totally this like correct social warrior, dude. Then how about we speak about the situation in China?
And they have brought so much light to the social injustice and for the victims, families, and that, like, they have really used their platform, and it's actually amazing that, like, it's a platform unlike anything else has ever had. But then when it comes to things like that with the China stuff, it's like you can't throw out a little something, like. I don't know.
I guess not. Apparently not.
I don't know. It's that, dude. You see what's going on in Nigeria now?
Yeah, I've just actually started to. I was reading about that this morning. It's like it's also the other thing is like I was thinking about this morning. I go through and like I see all these like stories on my Instagram like basically just like what's happening in Nigeria, and I start reading through all the stuff, and then it's like you're almost left with this feeling after. It's just like. this depressing kind of,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm aware of the situation now. Good.
And I'm not doing anything.
And that's good. But it's like, what do I do? And it's like there's always like donation links or there's like petitions, and like I try to sign petitions and do all that. But if I start donating, first of all, I have a income of approximately $0.
That's what I mean. If you don't have the money to do it,
I don't even have money. I barely have enough money to support myself. And then like, if you start donating to everything, you know, I just, it's like, what do I do? Like, what do I do? Like, I understand that information and all that. And it's all clearly a horrible situation. What's going on? It's like, and then what do? I just have this depressing like mood for the rest of the day, you know, until like I forget about it. Like,
until you look at some meme and then you're like, oh,
yeah,
like
it's crazy.
No, it is crazy. But I didn't even know what was going on. I just saw people getting shot and murdered, and I'm like, what the heck is going on down there in Nigeria? Like, that's horrible, dude.
Yeah, I read up on it like recently, obviously, but the other thing too is like it's tough to like people will look at like one. So for example, I looked at like a few stories this morning where I was clicking through like whatever it was, like 10 or 20 Instagram stories, like explaining the situation. And then people will take that information, like someone else, and all of a sudden they're an expert, and now they're fucking screaming at everyone. Like, I try to stay away from like, I know that we're technically talking about it, but we're being very brief and kind of like talking about it in a general sense.
Well, we're talking
like,
about,
I'm not going to pretend to know the situation, what's going on in Nigeria or China or anywhere, like, because I don't really fucking know.
Yeah, we're not acting like experts on it, and I think it should be talked about. You know, like problems should be talked about. I'm big on like sitting down, talking about it. Like that's the only way to get through an issue. But to say stuff that is just, you don't know what you're even putting out there. It's scary and it's dangerous, dude. So misleading.
For sure.
But that's a whole issue in itself, really. I mean, on both sides, man. That's just a bad thing that we have, and that all stems from what social media has done, dude. Like, it's terrible. I don't know. I'm like, no way. I don't want my kids to have it. Like, they can have I just wish that. I don't wish that upon
like TikTok stars.
Yeah, no way, man. I'm just like, I mean, by then
you don't look at TikTok, do you? Anymore?
No,
you get rid of it, or you got it back.
I don't have it because so before the whole China, I don't even know that whole thing, before the whole Trump put that thing out, I was on Twitter one time, a long time ago, when TikTok first came out, and I saw a random tweet, and it was a video, and it was like saying, these are all the reasons you should delete your TikTok. Like, it gives out information. And I was like freaked out by that.
Yeah.
Deleted the app right away. Yeah. And then I didn't hear anything.
Funny that like so many people started saying that about TikTok. It's like, hey, newsflash, guys, that's every one of your fucking apps. That's also just your phone.
Yeah, it's literally. Then I came to that realization, and I was like, you know what? It doesn't even matter because they got everything on me anyway. So then I was like, you know what? I'll go get TikTok. And then I was like, no, don't get another social media. Like, you already are so consumed. Yeah. So I just didn't do it.
It's so funny because like I would say like before even going into school this year, like I didn't even know what it like really was. I didn't even like hear much about TikTok. Yeah. And then all of a sudden this year, it's like I had classes at fucking dates where we were literally sitting there watching TikTok videos. Like we had classes talking about TikTok. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like what the heck?
TikTok's not new.
I know. Wasn't it like Musically before or something?
It was I think it was really for singing stuff and like music, and it was out like it was out years ago, dude. Because people used to send me some weird stuff on TikTok, and I'd be like, this app is crazy. Like, who uses this? And then all of a sudden it was like the number one platform in the world.
Yeah. So then eventually, like I finally gave in and I got it, and just like I wanted to see what like people I knew or like I had friends who were like
good excuse.
So I'd hop on and like look at it.
You just wanted to check on some friends, you know. That's bull crap. You just couldn't take it anymore. Come on, man.
Well, either way, I went in. I was like, whoa, it kind of like mesmerized me a little bit. Like it's weird. Like it kind of its algorithm like really caters to like what you want and like knows what you want to see after like just spending like
Oh,
even an
man.
hour on it. But
That algorithm, man, that's scary.
yeah, I got out of
Uh,
it. I got out of the TikTok game. Like I see it now as like just another thing I'm doing on my phone. I spend
Dude, that's
enough
exactly
time in
why I
front of
don't
the
want it.
phone all day. Like I don't need to be doing
Exactly
that as
it.
well.
That's exactly it. I was like, you know what? I'm not scared of them knowing my information, whatever. I
Yeah.
just don't need another thing, you
It's
know?
it's so crazy to me because I can easily get rid of TikTok, A, because I don't have an account, and like B, it just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a mandatory thing to have right now.
Right.
The fact that I even feel like that speaks volumes to what social media has done, because I feel like if I got rid of my Instagram right now, if I just deleted it, I'd feel like there's almost a part of me gone. Like
Oh,
there's like
100%.
I'm like, well, how is
100%.
someone gonna? And I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, what's really the issue if I deleted it? Like, I'm still a fucking person. But it's like, in a sense, though, in the world now, part of me
No,
fucking is gone,
it's
dead
a
and gone.
totally different, dude. It's super crazy how what social media is. Like I can't even describe it. It's something that like our grandparents never lived with that thing you're talking about. That like
Yeah,
other part of you, your
yeah,
media you. And
yeah,
that's crazy to me that our whole lives like we don't know anything different than that social media presence and that like that's another you know? Like
yeah.
and I don't know, man. It's definitely weird. It's we definitely like I a couple of times over the summer I would be on Instagram or something, and I would just delete the app. I'd just delete the app,
Yeah,
and I'd be like, I'm gonna just get rid of it for a little bit.
yeah,
Maybe 7 hours later, I'm
yep,
like, hold on, I didn't. I just need to go check one thing.
yeah, exactly.
Boom, it's on my phone for another
It's
week.
like a
I'm like,
drug. Yeah,
yeah, man, it's scary. I'm telling you, if you watch that thing on Netflix, it'll give you a whole different outlook on the whole thing. You're gonna be like,
I know.
wow.
Part of me wants to watch it too, but the other part of me just like knows that like I know what's gonna be. Like I feel like
Yeah, you will,
I've
but
learned so much about like what's going on in that
it's
world that
interesting to
it's
hear
like,
it from their mouths. Like
yeah,
everybody on that was
hmm,
a ex
yeah, yeah,
Google,
yeah.
like which
Employee. Yeah.
yeah. So I've asked this question to my friends before. It's like, what do you think's bigger? I mean, I think you'll answer the same as me. The invention of the iPhone or the invention of social media? No, I'm sorry, not the iPhone, the smartphone.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. The smartphone or social media.
Yeah, like which one has been a bigger like impact? What's changed the world more? I'm trying to say, I guess. That's a tough one.
Oh, well, it's tough to say because so you're basically saying like we'd live in a world with no smartphones, but like still social media. So I could go on my computer and go to like Instagram or like
Right. You'd
Twitter
have
or
your
Facebook.
computers and stuff. It would have been originated and only on computers. There were
Yeah.
no smartphones. So we all
Um,
had a flip phone, a little razor still.
I think not having a smartphone would have more of an impact on the world. Uh, and I say that because you have the 24/7 unrestricted access with you. Kids are in school, they're on their phone. Like
Yeah.
at least if there is no smartphone, like
Right.
like you wouldn't constant like part of the feeling that I'm talking about is
You're not going
like
to carry
that
your
I just
computer
like
around.
is the constant like connect, like I constantly feel connected. I don't feel like I wake up in the morning, first thing I do look at my phone. I go to bed, last thing I do look at my
Look at your
phone.
phone.
Like
Yeah.
the main issue is that you're constantly connected
Right.
when you have a smartphone. Whereas if that was gone, at least like you would still have the pitfalls of social media,
Yeah.
but it would be
Just
localized.
less accessible. So it'd be the same
Yeah,
evil, just not as right in our face as it is today.
exactly.
Yeah. That's
But if the smartphone wasn't invented, it would have been something else. It would have been
yeah.
another, I just see no, like, yeah, it's tough to imagine that.
Yeah. No, for
Why?
sure.
What would your answer be?
Well, that's a good point. I never really put that into perspective. For me, it was just like, oh, the iPhone, we have social media without iPhones, like social
Yeah.
media. But, social media has changed the world, man. It's for political reasons, I mean, it's helped solve crime. I mean, man, I don't know. Social media is just crazy to me.
I mean,
And
there's certainly good aspects as well. It's just when we
yeah.
talk about it, it's interesting because the dialogue surrounding social media nowadays is almost entirely negative.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I was coming through middle school and high school, I went to a very progressive like high school, middle school, and in terms of like many things, in terms of politics, and but it's certainly with education and the way in which students learn. So we had a laptop with us pretty much strictly since 7th grade on.
Right.
Um,
Wow. That's
and
crazy.
like at that time though, we talked a lot about the positive aspects of it, and we got to see the positive aspects of it. But now it's almost 100% negative in the way in which we talk about it.
Yeah. No, that's really crazy. I didn't have, yeah. I don't know, man. It's just a crazy thing that's going on. But which was interesting because I came from a different school, like a different type of school,
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing, man. Like when I think about how I came to know you and like how we become friends and all that, it's really interesting how different our two cultures were. Like
Oh yeah.
when I came to prep school and I would say things or do things and you're like, dude, what? Like like you had never seen that before. And I'm just like, what, man? That's what we do in Florida. Like, I don't know. But it
Yeah.
was just pretty cool. I thought it was really cool, man.
Yeah, I can only imagine like being you coming up to a New England prep school. Even though I'd consider our New England prep school a little bit different than most of the other New England prep schools. But yeah, I can only imagine it's almost like a shock. It's like
It was definitely a little bit of a culture shock because even when I lived in the upstate New York, I mean, that wasn't like, it wasn't anything like it is in New England and that area. And yeah, for sure, man. Like once I was like, these people just think differently. Like there's, I don't know. And then after that, moving to Arkansas for 2 years, I was like, holy crap. Like this couldn't be
difference
more,
of like
more
Boston
opposite.
and Arkansas.
Oh, dude. So I was trying to
You're trying to
you.
get me to go down there. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's.
I was trying to recruit you there, dude. I was like, man, maybe like I need someone here who's like, just normal. I guess I don't know. No, but there wasn't a lot to do out there, man. I was like, having another friend here would be really exciting right now. But
Yeah, I think that'd be too big of a shift for me. I might as well just go,
yeah,
to the Middle East or somewhere.
no, for sure.
Same, like difference.
I kept trying to convince myself. I was like, you know what, dude? Like, he wouldn't like struggle there. But realistically, knowing you at that time, there is no shot. I mean, you would have gotten off the plane in 10 minutes, been like, no way. I mean, the middle of nowhere, dude. Like some of those guys, some of our fans. I mean, they were great fans, but I mean, come on.
Way of life.
It's a different way of life, man.
Yeah.
It's a good way to
I'm
put
someone
it.
who like definitely needs to be at like a liberal arts college and kind of have the freedom to explore like everything that I want to do.
Yeah.
So in that sense, the base was like the perfect fit for me.
And that's when you definitely didn't have the freedom to really express yourself at Worcester.
No, prep school was brutal.
Yeah,
Being
man.
a postgraduate there, it was definitely a tough experience. And looking back, I can laugh at every single thing about it.
Yeah.
Because I'm so far removed and separated from the experience. But at the time, that was trying for sure.
Yeah. And if that was trying, I can't even imagine what it would have been like for you to try to go to Arkansas with me. But dude, that was a fun year though. That was a fun year. Prep school, like I wish I would have had more fun. I'm like, man, looking back, I was like, man, I was like a big sleepover with all your best friends, like all your teammates. Like, I was like, man, we should have done stuff. We should have like, had some fun, caused some trouble in the what was it, the courtyard or something. Like, I don't know, just like something fun, dude. We didn't ever leave that building at night. We're like,
really though.
There's an alarm on the door. There was no alarm on the door. That was
what I mean. It felt a little bit like jail to me, but
that's what I mean. I'm like, because I feel like we just like followed the rules, and we were like, dang it, like those are the rules. We're just gonna we should have like done something. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I guess so, man. There's a lot going on in my mind at that time. I think a
Yeah.
lot going on for all of us trying to, figure out what our next move was in terms of college. It was very stressful.
Yeah. So what's next for you and I mean, you said right now you're painting and
Yeah.
which is cool. I mean,
Yeah.
my girlfriend paints, she's an artist,
Yeah.
and so we have a bunch of new paintings hanging up in our room right now.
Good.
It's super cool.
Yeah,
Um,
man. I don't really know what the next move is. I guess it's I'm a college graduate. You know, I guess I'm looking for work. I've applied to, jobs here and there, but I'm not like dead set on getting it. If I really, really wanted to get a job, I'm sure I could go find one. I could find something. Well, first of
right.
all, it's a tough kind of job market right now,
Yeah.
but um, I'm just like I'm just painting right now, and I'm like working on kind of like a series, like a body of work. And for me, like I spoke about that kind of like desire to create, and um, you know, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I just kind of have this urge. I'm just, you know, maybe I wake up tomorrow and I don't want to paint. Maybe
Right.
I'm fucking sick and tired of it. But for now, it's something I feel like I'm enjoying doing, and who knows where that takes me? Who knows if this is something I try to see through, for the entirety of my life. I know I'm always like going to be an artist kind of at heart, but
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different types of art, dude, you know, and
yeah,
you go from thing to thing. It's like, who knows where you might land and be like, this is the one
yeah,
that I'm supposed to be doing.
yeah, no, yeah. So the answer, like, I really don't have an answer, like, for where I see it going. I just, I'm just enjoying the process of it right now, and when the time comes where I need to move on to the next thing or just kind of get out, then I'll figure that out
Yeah.
when the opportunity presents itself.
So is that something that you would always want to do, like moving into full time artist work, or
Yeah, so but that's the thing with like being a painter. What does that mean? Like,
right,
oh, you're painting houses? No, like I'm doing like artwork. I don't know. Like, it's not like I can just say, oh, now all of a sudden I'm a professional painter. Like, it's just like,
right? A lot of people claim they're artists.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and a lot of people are. It's just, it's a tough,
Right,
it's not an easy
right,
thing to make money in. But that's
for sure.
the nice thing is, it's just like I'm not doing it for those reasons. I'm not doing it
Hmm.
because I think it's my career path. Like, I just do it because it's what I feel like I want to be doing right now, and um, I have this urge to do that. Um, but who knows if that, you know, turns into something further down the road where I can maybe sell work or something in that sense, then sure, I'm interested in that. I
Yeah.
just don't know if that opportunity ever comes around, and I'm kind of okay with not knowing right now.
And you said you don't plan on leaving Boston ever, but like,
Yeah.
what about? I mean, California is similar, LA,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
which I actually really like LA, but
Uh,
can you see yourself heading that way or what?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, at one point in my life, I was pretty dead set on going out to LA. I was very, like I said, I was into film. I've studied that a lot in school, and I could see myself maybe like if like the jobs that I have applied to have been more film photography based.
Right.
I'm not applying to like sales positions. Like I'm still, I did an internship at a media agency where I was working with the videographer. Um, I don't, like I said, I love Boston. Like, I may have misspoke. Like, I don't know if I ever see myself not living here. I have so much family in Boston.
Yeah.
I just, I always see it. I always see Boston as kind of being, I think I'll always see it as being home, whether or not I live there or not.
Yeah. How are your
But
parents?
I'm open to going other places.
How are your parents doing? Like, would they encourage you leaving, or they want you close to home, or what?
Um, I don't know. I mean, uh, I I think they'd be fine.
Yeah.
They've always been like very supportive of like kind of what I do. So, uh, this whatever I would want to do, they'd be
Yeah, man.
behind behind
I
me.
haven't seen your parents in a long time, dude. I didn't see
Yeah,
them
man.
last time I was up there.
Yeah, they're still more or less the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I figured not too much had changed in their lives at that
Nope.
age. You know,
Yeah.
that's crazy. But who knows? I mean, nowadays with COVID, everything's changing. So you could tell me your parents have two completely different jobs than they had before. I
Yeah.
wouldn't
No, luckily
start.
they've been I think they were pretty secure with their jobs. So
Very lucky right
yeah,
now.
fortunately they didn't have to jump around or do anything like that.
Yeah, man. My cousin actually texted me today, the one who coaches at the prep school, and he was like, he's like, I don't even know if we're gonna have a season right now.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
man,
there's
it
just it's
sucks.
like the toughest thing about, not the toughest thing. There's fucking thousands of people dying. No, there's
Yeah,
like one of the, for me personally, it's just the uncertainty of just like no one knows what's going on. Like
right.
I want there to be some form of,
Yeah,
and I know people may not have, uh, you know, there's just so much like there's some schools that are playing. There's like we have college football
yeah.
going on. There's
Everything
even
is
certain
just
college
all
football
over the
teams that
place.
don't play. It's like, what? So is it just an option? If it is, then just fucking say that. But
Right.
like, I don't know. It's so tough. And just depending on where you live, it's different. Like I guarantee if I went
Yeah.
to the South right now, somewhere like if
Oh,
I'm in
dude,
Texas, people are going to be like, hey, what's going on? Like
dude.
I felt like I was in line yesterday and I felt like I was a little too close to a lady. Everyone's wearing masks. And I'm like, oh, am I too close? Am I making her uncomfortable? Like, it's just like,
Dude, that's really crazy. If you like, when I left Florida, I dude, like, I forgot COVID was even like a thing. Basically, I got here to Spain and everyone's wearing their mask. Every time I would walk out of the door, I'd be like, "Crap, I forgot my mask." I'm just not used to it. In Florida, you know, like we follow the rules to an extent, but then right before I left for like a couple weeks, there was no rules. Like there was no restrictions. Like nobody in the stores had masks. I mean,
it's
yeah,
crazy here.
waitresses and stuff would, but you wouldn't think twice if someone bringing you your food didn't have a mask like you do in some states,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, exactly. Just depending on where you are, it's just totally different. It's not like, I know there are government rules and regulations, and each state has their own kind of set of phases and whatnot. It's just seems more of like, hey, if like we're following these rules, and some people are like, hey, no, we're not. So it's tough to know,
Yeah.
So that's why I try not to form. I play it just more safe, I guess,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
why not? It's not like like I said before, my lifestyle hasn't been too affected. So
It's
uh,
the thing I can't stand is these rules, but what pisses me off are the rules that just don't make any sense. I mean, they make no sense, and everyone can agree that they make no sense. So it's like,
yeah,
what is going on? Like, I have to have over here in Spain, we have to have our masks on in the car
yeah,
when you're with other people. So I'm like, okay, so we're on our way to practice. I have
yeah.
to
They
wear a
just
mask.
yeah,
But at practice, I can take it off and we can play against each other.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on.
It's just like people just like everyone. It's like I feel like everything's just like a liability thing. Uh, like people just don't want to get in trouble for this, or states have to do this to like look good.
Yeah,
They have to like it's all like optics. No one really fucking cares. Well, not I
yeah.
shouldn't say no one cares, but
No, but I know what you
it's
mean. It's
crazy. It's like
just,
that's like what I'm hearing a lot about college right now. I can only imagine like being at school right now. Like I'm hearing all the stories about what's going on at Bates. It's craziness.
I thought I heard everyone's getting a year back of eligibility.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm not even talking about that. I'm sure that um, I'm sure something like that will happen. Like I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
there'll be no season like in the NESCAC, but
that's
I
crazy.
feel bad for those seniors because like in Division 3, like most kids won't come back for a year of eligibility. Like
Yeah, it's true.
they can't come back to the same school because we have no grad program. But it's
Oh
just
man.
I can't imagine being at school right now, like trying to navigate all that.
Yeah, it'd be pretty stressful. I mean, I feel like no teacher can be a douche enough to fail somebody during all this.
Oh my god,
You
I took
gotta,
full advantage of that for the last because like the second half of my last semester was
yeah,
was all virtual, and like back of my head I'm like no one's gonna fucking fail me.
yeah. There's
So
no way, dude. That's so like unethical of a teacher to
yeah,
fail somebody right
well it's
now.
so hard too. It's such bullshit trying to take like I've taken some online classes prior to quarantine, so I was like kind of fortunate to know the space a little bit,
Yeah,
but all these like the courses we were trying to like kind of take, for all of a sudden teachers were told like, oh, 2 weeks have like an online like course ready. It was such a shit show.
Yeah, it's got to be frustrating. And I mean, it's just different for everyone, man. It's just a transition for everyone for one reason or another. Everyone's been impacted by this thing,
Yeah,
you know?
that's for sure.
Like that's something we all had have in common, and that for a while, dude, it actually felt like everyone was kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, we're all fighting this virus. That's what we're
Yeah.
fighting.
Well, I think when it first started, everyone was like so scared and like had
Yeah.
no idea what was going on. And then like eventually like stuff just wears on people and they're like,
Yeah.
no matter what it is, I think like even if this was a more deadly
Yeah, I think
disease
so
or
too.
virus, people would
Yep.
still be like, I'm fucking tired of it.
Yeah.
I could go outside and get hit by a car right now. You know, like
Nobody
it's,
likes the restriction,
yeah.
you know?
And that's I guess that's to be expected living in America, you know.
And that's the thing, dude. When
A
I
bunch of
came over
fucking
here,
cowboys.
dude, nobody breaks the rules. Even if they say, "Oh, we know
Really?
these rules don't make sense," they all follow it. And I'm like,
People more trusting of the government.
yeah, 100%, 100%. And that's just
Yeah.
kind of the way they are. That's their culture. It's the way
Yeah.
they were raised.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, if they told us Americans to do the rules they're telling me right now, no way they'd be doing them. And but it's kind of cool. I kind of like that. I'm like, even if it's stupid, I'm kind of for that. Like, you know, standing up, being able to like just do your own thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if it's not super dangerous to do your own thing,
Yeah.
if you're harming somebody or,
Yeah.
then I'm like, okay, like
It's just like I said before, the whole like the whole politicized aspect of what's been going on with Corona has just been unfortunate. It makes me, I'm not saying distrusting of information, but
oh, I mean, dude, it's very.
I think the
very
news and media really fucking. I've not that I was ever super into news sources and all that. Like I know the overt biases. I just after going through coronavirus and like seeing what was being said on the news and like the fear porn, it's just.
Oh, it's nuts.
I felt like an 80-year-old man on yelling at the TV. Like,
no, it's been really irritating, and you know where we see all of that, dude, is social media. Like that's where I see most of that, and I'm like, God, I can't stand it anymore, dude. Like I'm about to delete my social media, you know, like
yeah, I felt like that a lot too when, you know, kind of like when we were in the midst of all the COVID stuff, it was like depressing as fuck to like, go on social media.
Yeah, it was.
Definitely took a step back then. And
you think we're gonna have another one of these?
Sort of
pandemics?
lockdown? Yeah.
In our lifetime?
I mean, I have no idea. I'm not a science guy.
Like if you just,
I think that we will be more prepared. I think if anything, this prepares us more. I think it seemed like
it's a good approach.
It seemed like at least the U.S. government was very unprepared, shockingly, for something like this. So I think just there'll be laws and regulations and whatnot in state for places and in the government as a whole, you know, to ultimately handle it better than we handled this.
Dude, it's so crazy because when I was in Austria, I was watching this this is before the pandemic even started, like whatever. I'm sitting there watching this thing on Netflix and I can't remember the name of it, but it was a little short series of these doctors her job is like global pandemic prevention. Like she's on the front line trying to get ahead of everything. And I'm watching it and they're like, there's going to be a pandemic very soon. Like it's just what's going to happen. And like, sure enough, like a month later, coronavirus starts and I'm like, no way. And I told everyone there in Austria, I was like, this thing is going to go everywhere. It's not going to stop. People are like, oh, you're crazy. I was like, they started calling me COVID. Practice. They'd be like, oh, or Corona or something like that. And I'm like, all right, dude.
Yeah, I remember when it was like a joke at school. I remember that was so people would be like coughing, be like, oh, I got COVID.
It was like multiplying. Like I'm getting the numbers from China, and it's like they're like multiplying, like spreading like wildfire. I'm like, they're not gonna be able to stop that.
Yeah.
So I was like, it got crazy fast, man.
Oh my God.
It got crazy
all of a sudden,
fast.
just like in the period of like 2 weeks at school, it was just like went from something that people were like talking about to all of a sudden, like we were just looking at every school in our league that was shutting down. And it was just like imminent. And we're like, holy shit.
That domino effect.
This is how our 4 years is going to end.
Yeah.
And like, we have this like, Bates has this like short-term program at the end of every year that it's basically just like a month of partying. And, for the seniors, it's really, special because
right.
You get, like,
You've been waiting for it.
You get the cab off like your time.
Yeah.
And then it's just like our season ended. And then
man,
in a few weeks, it was like, this is it.
You got robbed.
It was crazy. I can't imagine like there was one team left in our conference who was, I think, going to like the Elite Eight or final, like something like that. And all of a sudden it was canceled. And they had one of their like key guys. I think they only had one senior, but it's like that sucks for him.
Yeah, dude, Florida Southern. They were they had lost 2 games on the year. And they're the number one seed in the NCAA tournament. They're hosting the regional tournament. And I'm like, ooh, man. And they had the National Player of the Year on their team, my boy Brett, the one who went to Tilton. So I'm like, man, they got a shot at this, dude. And all of a sudden, season's just done. I'm like, oh, man, they set it up perfect.
So brutal.
They could have had it. I think they would have won it.
That sucks. I'm happy that my season ended the way I can't say I'm happy that we got knocked out, but it was like, at least I have some sort of like closure.
Yeah, ended on a high note. I can
be like, listen, we lost. Like we weren't going anywhere. I can't imagine like being like in the midst of like a tournament run, and then just being like, oh, it's over. It's like we just never get to know.
Yeah, no, it sucked. Thank God I wasn't a part of that. But just talking to my friends who are still on that team and watching their games throughout the year, and I was a fan. I'm like, dang. That sucks. I was excited for that. I don't know, man. It's been a crazy time.
Yeah, that's to put it lightly. Just hopefully stuff gets back to normal.
Yeah, man.
Relatively soon.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on the podcast, man.
Yeah, of course. I loved it.
Yeah. We have a easy time talking about nothing usually. So
yeah, it's like a Larry David model.
Yeah. We got to cover your art career and how that's going, which that's interesting stuff, man. I didn't know a lot of that, and I didn't know a lot of that about you. So I'm excited to get to know that and see where you go forward. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on. And
of course, thank you for having me.
Stay in touch, man.